The US has called this June 17 confrontation between the Philippines and China provocative, reckless, and escalatory. The Philippines says it's coercive, aggressive, and barbaric. In return, China urged the Philippines to stop its infringements and provocations. This incident happened at Second Thomas Shoal, known in the Philippines as Ayungin Shoal and in China as Ren'ai Reef. It's about 200 kilometers from the Philippines, within its exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. Beijing claims it as well, even though it's more than 1,000 kilometers away from China. The BRP Sierra Madre, a World War II-era warship, was deliberately grounded on the shoal in 1999 as a Philippine military outpost. A few Marines live on this rusting ship, getting what they need through regular rotational and resupply, or RORE missions. The Philippines has accused China of disrupting these missions in many ways: blocking, laser pointing, and firing water cannon. But what happened on June 17 was different. According to footage from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, this video shows the China Coast Guard, CCG, circled in green, ramming an Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP vessel, circled in yellow. This caused a Philippine military personnel to lose his right thumb. 2 Philippine Navy rigid-hull inflatable boats, RIBs, and more than 8 Chinese vessels were involved in this confrontation. This video was filmed from one of the Philippine vessels. The boat circled in yellow is a Philippine vessel, but Chinese personnel in bright orange vests boarded the boat. This military personnel appears to be the one who lost his right thumb. This is the first time China Coast Guard personnel boarded Filipino military vessels. According to this video and text published by Chinese state-run media CCTV on June 19, it was also the first time for the CCG to conduct onboard inspections of a Filipino vessel. The Philippines claims their Navy boat was not just inspected, but forcibly towed, damaged, and looted of its firearms. But China maintains their actions were justified.
非方的船只不仅夹带建筑材料，还偷运武器装备，故意冲撞中方的船只。非人员还对中方的执法人员泼水、投掷物品等。中方依法采取必要措施，维护自身主权，合法合理，专业克制，无可非议。
The South China Sea issue is also very much about who is gaining and who is controlling the narrative. And to control the narrative, you often have to be seen to be holding the moral high ground. So that also means a few things. One, nobody wants to fire the first shot, even if they are tempted to do so, because whoever fires the first shot will be the culprit, who is the one who is wrecking up regional security.
The China Coast Guard appears to be wielding an axe. This video taken from the Sierra Madre shows that the Chinese are close enough for someone to pour water on them. Then the China Coast Guard appears to use a knife to pierce one of the Philippines' inflatable vessels.
This was unprecedented. Even though the Chinese, they did try to get close to the outpost, but never before had they actually come alongside the Sierra Madre. They are just short of boarding the Sierra Madre.
That is a test. Basically, both Beijing and Manila are not completely clear about each other's red lines. So one of the things that you might try to do is to figure out where that is, and see whether you can, force the other side to give in a little bit more.
We already have suffered injury, but thank God we have not yet gotten to the point where any of our participants, civilian or otherwise, have been killed. But once we get to that point, that is certainly, we would have crossed the Rubicon, certainly crossed the Rubicon. Is that a red line? Oh, most certainly it's going to be a red line.
The Chinese are clearly into what we call the long game in the South China Sea. Some argue further that for the Chinese, given that what they believe to be time on their side, they thought it could be possible to drag on all these all the way until the next Philippine presidential election. So a post-Marcos Jr. administration might be more amenable to come to terms. And there were signs that it is possible because Sarah Duterte, who is the daughter of the previous president, who was known to have a pro-Chinese foreign policy stance, might be the hope for China in that. So there is no point going to war and thereby sour the relationship and to a point of no return.
After the incident, there were calls to invoke the MDT, Mutual Defense Treaty, a pact signed in 1951, binding Manila and Washington to defend each other in the event of an armed attack.
Your question about the invocation of the Mutual Defense Treaty, it has not been considered in our discussions.
We would like to settle all these issues peacefully.
We will pursue the peaceful resolution of disputes in accordance with international laws.
There were very quick attempts to try to de-escalate on the part of the Philippines. They were trying to argue that diplomacy remains the primacy when it comes to dealing with the South China Sea issue.
On July 2nd, after meeting with China, the Philippine Foreign Ministry stated that both sides affirmed their commitment to de-escalate tensions and continue discussions to find a mutually acceptable resolution.
I think there's a win-win situation because the demands are on some level mutually exclusive. I mentioned about the law of the sea and having rules in place. Well, these rules are supposed to provide some sort of restraint on the exercise of capability and power and authority. And that really helps out smaller states because they don't have the same level of capability. And so what's also at stake there is the extent that we keep international institutions that restrain power in place. They provide a safer, more open environment for smaller actors.
Besides the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, Professor Chong also thinks ASEAN could play a bigger role.
What is worthy of also underscoring is ASEAN's silence, right? I think they feel quite cowed by the PRC. And some may even believe that their economic futures are tied to the PRC and so are unwilling to say anything. It should live up to its mandate to try to encourage dialogue. It should use the ASEAN regional forum mechanisms to do confidence building.
While ASEAN might be silent, one country is making its stand clear. On July 8, the Philippines and Japan signed a defense pact that allows troops to be deployed in each other's country, paving the way for joint military drills and maritime patrols.
南シナ海をめぐる問題は地域の平和と安定に直結する国際社会の正当な関心事項であり、我が国は南シナ海における力による一方的な現状変更の試み、緊張を高めるいかなる行為にも強く反対します。
The hypothesis goes like this. If you are able to force the Philippines to submit to your will, despite its status as a US ally, what does it speak about the US status as a security provider in the region? I mean, clearly, it will achieve two purposes. One is that the other Southeast Asian parties in the South China Sea will come to conclusion that, look, the Philippines, which is a US ally, was unable to do anything to China, and the US has done nothing to stop the Chinese and to protect the Philippines. So we should just simply, toe the line, don't rock the boat with China, and just get by as it is.
For now, it's clear that neither the Philippines nor China wants a war. Yet, it's unclear what a peaceful solution looks like. If China is indeed playing the long game, How long can the Philippines stay in it?